A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka, together with our interpreter this evening, Brian De Cruz. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
All state events suspended for 2 weeks. Private sector events and parties prohibited. President says vaccination is the only solution for COVID-19. Will casinos be established through the port city? Human-elephant conflict aggravates in Mahyanganaya. 2 lives lost in 24 hours.
Newsfirst.lk.
Main sponsor.
Cargios Online, delivering groceries on time, always.
And now the stories in detail. The government has suspended all state and private events for 2 weeks starting from today.
The President's Media Division said that the government has decided to suspend all state and private functions, meetings and parties under COVID-19 regulations for 2 weeks. The decision has been made in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
Meanwhile, President Gotabaya said only a vaccine can end the COVID-19 pandemic. Issuing a statement, the President's Media Division said that the government has a systematic and strong vaccination program. The statement emphasized that people must strictly follow all rules and regulations recommended by the health authorities. It added that the government has made arrangements to import 4 of the vaccines currently approved by the World Health Organization and to be approved in the near future. According to the statement, the first imported AstraZeneca vaccine had been administered among 925,242 people, while the second dose of the vaccine is scheduled to be given in the first week of May. The second dose will be given to 356,000 people. The President's Media Division noted that the government is now in talks with the rest of the pharmaceutical firms who produce the AstraZeneca vaccine to meet the remaining demand. According to the statement, 1.2 million doses of the Sputnik vaccine are to be imported in July. The cabinet has already approved a proposal to procure 13 million doses of the vaccine. The statement added that plans are afoot to distribute 600,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine donated by China with the approval of the World Health Organization. The State Pharmaceutical Cooperation has already signed the preliminary agreements required for the importation of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine as well. The statement noted that developing countries such as Sri Lanka cannot afford lockdowns or curfews that obstruct the economic activities of the country. It urged that the people must fulfill their respective responsibilities and duties for the betterment of the country as well as themselves, while the government is fulfilling their responsibilities. The Dambulla Dedicated Economic Centre has been closed down for 74 hours amidst a surge in COVID-19 cases. Dambulla Mayor Jalia Opatha said that the decision had been made following the detection of 48 COVID-19 cases at the economic centre. Meanwhile, the arrival and departure lobby areas of the Bandaranaike International Airport have been closed for visitors until further notice. This was the manner in which police enforced quarantine regulations strictly throughout the day.
එහෙමයි ඕගොල්ලෝ නීතියානුකූලව මේ වරදක් කරන්නේ තේරුණායි දැන් අද මේ මොහොතේ ලංකාවේ සියලුම හොස්පිටල් වල රෝගීන් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්නවා මේ කොරෝනා රෝගීන් ඊයේ දෙවෙනි දවල්ට වඩා මේ තුන්වෙනි දවල් තේරුණාද මම කියන්නේ මොකද්ද කියන්නේ පාර තේරුණාද මේ දෙන කයියන් කියලා ප්‍රකාශ කරගන්න ලබන කර කයියන් ඔයාලා මම ඊයේත් ඇහිලා කියලා ගියා මෙතන ඔයාලා කොරෝනා තියෙනවද නැත්ද කියලා ඔයා දන්නවද તો આ මිනිස්සුන්ට දෙන්න කන කැමෝ සේරම දෙන්නේ අත දාලා සේරම කළා කරුණාකරලා මේවා අරස් කරන්න අල්ලලා අත් දෙකම අනිපත්.
Our correspondent reported that 48 individuals had been arrested with the intervention of the Fort Police for flouting COVID-19 regulations at the Golf Face Green. The suspects had been arrested for failing to wear face masks and maintain social distancing. An operation was carried out in Gampaha today to monitor whether the public is abiding by COVID-19 regulations. State Transport Minister Dilum Amunugama said that operations will be carried out to arrest bus drivers who transport passengers violating COVID-19 regulations.
Sri Lanka's COVID-19 tally currently stands at 100,586 with 5,633 individuals under medical care. Official figures show that 642 individuals have died due to the virus in the country.
4 deaths were reported due to COVID-19 in the country yesterday. This included 2 foreigners aged 46 and 63 from Colombo 2 and Colombo 4. 895 COVID-19 cases were detected in the country yesterday. The highest number of infections were recorded in the Colombo district, with the figure standing at 218. 71 cases were detected from Piliandala, 30 from Talangama, 19 from Colombo Fort and 18 from Kottawa. 150 cases were detected from the Kurunegala district yesterday. 95 cases were identified from Vallava, 20 from Kuliyapitiya and 12 from Kumugate in Kurunegala. 147 COVID-19 infections were reported from the Kalutara district yesterday, 93 from Beruwala, 32 from Kalutara and 10 from the Kalutara prison. 129 new COVID-19 cases were identified from the Gampaha district. This includes 48 from Dewlapitiya and 17 from Ragama. Meanwhile, 49 cases were detected from Putlam, 20 from Jaffna, 22 from Matale, 18 each from Kandy, Hambantota and Monaragala, 16 from Ampara, 14 from Kegol and 11 from Badulla. 15 Sri Lankans who returned to the country were also among the list of COVID-19 infected individuals. 5,159 PCR tests were carried out in the country yesterday. 17% of the infections were detected based on these PCR tests.
Meanwhile, views were expressed on the COVID-19 pandemic in the political arena as well.
We received 500,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. We purchased 500,000 vaccines after that. We received 300,000 doses from the World Health Organization. That adds up to 1.3 million. But the government is not revealing the data. They say that more than 9 million people were vaccinated. If 9 million people were vaccinated, then 300,000 doses of the vaccine must be remaining. But the government doesn't have this remaining amount. If possible, vaccinate nurses, doctors and blue-collar workers who amount to 150,000. Some have taken 4 doses of the vaccine. The government has finished these stocks by giving prominence to their henchmen and allies. Why is the Government Medical Officers Association silent? The government has begun to play the boy who cried wolf with the COVID-19 pandemic. When the country was heading into an election, we saw Gotabaya Rajapaksa saying, how can he close down the country when there are only 28 cases, and they continue to run the affairs of the country as usual. They said that tourists should be brought into the country. But what has happened now? On the 19th, they said that the May Day rallies will be held. On the 20th, they asked us to come to Colombo to divide up the venues. We got the BRC grounds. On the 20th of this month at noon, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party announced that they will hold their rally separately. Subsequently, the Frontline Socialist Party, the Communist Party and Wimal Weerawansa's party announced that their rallies will be held separately. The Pohottuwa got scared that their petals were being plucked out by the hand and that they won't be able to hold their May Day rally. Then they began to spread the word and create fear that the COVID-19 virus is spreading rapidly across the country. This same fear was not there during the New Year season. So there were no COVID-19 regulations during the festive seasons. And when the president goes for his Gamasamaga Pilisandarak program, thousands of people gather there and everything is fine. When things were done like that, and now they are creating fear of the pandemic among the public, this is simply the government crying wolf. If the government is using the COVID-19 pandemic to further their own ends, we would like to caution the government that this may lead to their destruction.
We must clearly state that although those in the opposition are hurling several accusations against the government, we are capable of protecting the people. In response to the accusations of the opposition, we wish to say that our healthcare system is capable of facing a COVID-19 wave.
India has registered a new world record for daily coronavirus infections for the 4th day in a row, placing more strain on its crisis-hit hospitals.
India recorded a further of 349,691 cases today, with another 276 lives lost, bringing the total cases recorded to almost 17 million since the pandemic began. Overcrowded hospitals are struggling to secure enough oxygen, leading to patients being turned away. India is in the grip of a rampaging second wave of the pandemic, hitting a rate of 1 COVID-19 death in just under 4 minutes in Delhi as the capital's underfunded healthcare system buckles. Delhi's chief minister said today the ongoing lockdown in the national capital has been extended by another week and will continue till the 3rd of May to curb the spread of the COVID-19 disease. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urging all citizens to be vaccinated and exercise cautions as a storm of infections had shaken the country. Yesterday, the US said it was deeply concerned by India's surge in cases. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the US was working closely with the Indian government to send more support and supplies. The Indian government is deploying trains and the Air Force to transport supplies to hard-hit areas.
Main sponsor.
Cargios Online, delivering groceries on time, always.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Bellboy's got you covered. Download Bellboy today to get all your household appliance fixing and repairs done. Now available on Android and iOS.
Also in local news, a 19-year-old was killed and another injured in an explosion in Mullaitivu today.
Police said that the explosion had occurred when two individuals had visited a land located in close proximity to a forest. A 19-year-old had been killed in the explosion, while a 20-year-old had been injured. The injured victim is receiving treatment at the Jaffna Teaching Hospital.
It has been revealed that the site of the explosion had been cleared by the bomb disposal squad. We are conducting investigations to find out whether the explosion had occurred after being triggered by rainfall when the two individuals had visited the area.
Meanwhile, two individuals were injured in an explosion at a residence in Pannala yesterday. Our correspondent reported that the explosion had occurred when they had experimented with gunpowder. The two injured victims are currently receiving treatment at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital. Our correspondent reported that the victims had sustained injuries to their hands. Police have identified the ages of the victims as 22 and 27 years old. An inspection was carried out at the site of the explosion today. Police spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana noted that a full-fledged investigation is being carried out into the incident.
We are carrying out investigations to determine whether the explosion had occurred when they had attempted to manufacture fireworks as claimed by the youth or due to any other reason. Statements have been recorded from about 10 individuals over this. We are continuing to carry out investigations over this matter. News First, the voice of the people.
The ever-growing human-elephant conflict. Both sides in this war are helpless. We have been stressing on the fact that as long as environmental destruction in the country continues, the human-elephant conflict will inevitably aggravate. Attesting to this inevitable reality, many wild elephant attacks were reported across the country during the past 24 hours. Adding to the body count of the human-elephant conflict was a woman in Mahyanganaya. This was the second death reported in the fisheries village of Giranduru Kotte.
Even before the conclusion of the final rites of Heen Manika, a resident of the Ulhitia fisheries village, who was killed in a wild elephant attack, the residents of this very same village had to put up white flags to mourn the death of another casualty of a similar attack. The residents of DM Hemalata The second victim of a wild elephant attack in the same village during the past 24 hours was only located a kilometer from the residence of Heen Manika. Hemalata, whose house was completely destroyed by a wild elephant last year, did not receive any compensation. She was living in a house given to her by a fellow villager. She was living there with her son and daughter-in-law. A wild elephant came to this house this morning and knocked down a wall of the house. While the 3 occupants of the house fled through the kitchen, they were met by yet another wild elephant attack on that front as well. A wild elephant who followed the 3 had attacked 54-year-old Hemalata. She lost her life on the spot. These are some of the items that the wild elephants had left back after looting their home.
උල්හිටිය රක්ෂිතේ තිබුණ ඉඩම් තමයි මේ බෙදලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතුරු ඉඩම් ටික සමාගම් වලට බදු දෙනවා. ඒකත් එක්කලා සත්තු ඊට පස්සේ පයින්නේ ඉඩම් වලින් මෙහාට තියෙන ගමට. පාම් වලට අක්කර 3000කට වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් දීලා තියෙනවා. අලින්ගේ නිජබිම් තමයි මේවා. සමාගම් වලින් කැලෑ ටික කැපුවට පස්සේ තමයි අලි ගම් බඳින්න පටන් ගන්න තියෙන්නේ.
Wild elephant attacks at many areas in Mahiyangania during the past week had caused severe damage to crops and other property. What is the reason for the aggravation of the human-elephant conflict in Mahiyangania? This is the fate that has befallen the forests surrounding this village during the past 15 years. This is the forest surrounding the Ulhitia rock in the reservoir. We add a number of exposés on the destruction caused to the environment by handing over these forest lands to private companies. This is how the forest cover in the area has changed over time. This is the Nilgala Forest Reserve and the surrounding area. We have reported on this destruction on a number of occasions as well. This is the change in the terrain caused over the years. This is the Rambakan Oya and its surrounding area. We continue to report on the massive environmental destruction caused to the Rambakan Oya Reserve and the Galvalayaya Reserve after these lands were handed over to private corporations. This is how the area has changed its outlook.
This environmental destruction must be stopped immediately. This wild elephants issue has already made its way to the Mahiyangania town. It will then make its way to Kandy and Colombo as well. Why are these houses owned by innocent people being destroyed? It is better if they destroy the parliamentary complex. Stop giving these lands to these private companies. The C zone is on the other side. It was the lands in this zone that were distributed among these companies. Lands between 200 to 300 acres were given away. An acre of land was given on lease for 1,000 rupees annually. The companies purchased these lands for a mere 1,000 rupees and are maintaining their plantations. Some of the lands have even been abandoned without any plantation activities. But they have used these lands to obtain loans from banks in billions.
Meanwhile, an elephant attack was reported from the Kurulubadda area in Polonnarua as well. H.M. Dharmadasa, a farmer who had been travelling to his field on a motorcycle, had been attacked by an elephant this morning. He was admitted to the Valikanda hospital before being transferred to the Polonnarua General Hospital. Dharmadasa's parents had died in a wild elephant attack at their residence in 2004. His brother is currently differently abled as a result of an elephant attack.
Meanwhile, several belongings of the people were damaged as a result of the human-elephant conflict in the last 24 hours. Wild elephants had destroyed approximately 15 acres of farmlands in the Alhara area in Polonnarua last night. Wild elephants from the Sudukanda Nikavava Reserve encroach onto these villages. Locals say that the electric fence does not have sufficient power to keep the elephants away.
බැයිනම් අපි ගෙදර බුද්ධිය ගන්නවා කියලා කිය. ඒක නිලධාරියෙක් එන්නේ නැහැ මෙහෙට බලන්න.
මෙහෙම එනකොට දැන් අදත් ඇවිල්ලා පාගනකොට හෙටත් ඇවිල්ලා පාගනකොට මේක ගොයන් ගහක්වත් නැතුව යනවා.
එනකොට මං හිතනවා අක්කර 500ක් විතර කුමුරු ඉවරයි. කිව්වට වැඩක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Wild elephants that encroached onto the Manankattiya village in Galenbindunuwewa had destroyed several acres of fields yesterday. Our correspondent reported that they had attacked a rice mill and a maize storage facility as well. Our cameras captured the herd of elephants roaming near the village in this manner.
ලෙඩක් දුකක් වුණාම අර යන්න නෑ. ඉතින් අපේ දරුවෝ රස්සාවල් වල ඉඳලා රෑ පාන එන්නේ අර අමනුකලේ පාරේ බස්සේ ඇවිල්ලා අතනින් බහලා එන්නේ. එනකොට මේ අලි.
A wild elephant had attacked a house in Kantale as well.
මේ දොරවල් මේ බලන්න මේ පාත් කරන්නත් බෑ. බොහොම අමාරුයි මේ ටිකවත් උස්සගත්තේ. මේවට අපි මේ ඉන්දියාටයක් ගානේ මොන තරම් දුකක් විඳිනවද කියලා බලන්නකො පොඩ්ඩක්.
Wild elephants are also at the receiving end of the worsening human-elephant conflict. Veterinarian officers in Pandulagama had to undertake strenuous efforts to rescue a 6-month-old elephant calf that had fallen into a pond in the Kalundagama area. 2 wild elephants had attacked 2 houses in Madavachia as well.
ගණ්ඩත් දෙනුනේ කවුරුත් නැතිසා වටේ කට්ටිය ඇවිල්ලා තමයි මම අමාරුවෙන් ගලිය පන්නලා දුන්නේ වී ටිකක් දෙදලා අයලා වතාවේ නැද්දමරු ගෙදරම කඩලා දානවා දැන් ওই දෙවෙනි වතාව ගෙදර කැඩුවෙත් හැමදාම වගේ එනවා මොන හරි විසඳුමක් කරලා දෙන්න ඊයේ රෑ දෙකට විතර තමයි තාත්තේ මල්ලිනේ දාගෙන ඉති प्लास्टिक ඔක්කොම කඩලා සීටුත් කෙල්ලලා ඔක්කොම අලියා ඕ මහත්තයා නැතුව මං ගොඩක් දුක් වෙලා මේකේ වලදරවල් හදාගෙන ඔය පාඩුවේ මට ඔයගේ වලයිත් කුණක ඉඳලා හදන්න දෙ.
Meanwhile, the Satyagraha campaign launched by the farmers of Walsapugala demanding an elephant management reserve in Hambantota entered its 99th day today. Although the elephant management reserve has been gazetted, regulations on how to operate within the reserve is yet to be published. Farmers of Walsapugala have engaged in a continuous satyagraha as a result of this. The satyagraha launched in Mahiyangana in solidarity with the farmers of Walsapugala entered its 40th day today. A group of artists gathered at the protest site last night and engaged in a public awareness program on deforestation. Meanwhile, the farmers' protest, initiated in Galgamur demanding a permanent solution to the human-elephant conflict, entered its 41st day today. The Satyagraha campaign launched by farmers of Madavachia demanding a solution to the human-elephant conflict entered its 38th day today.
Farmers continue to face difficulties in several parts of the country as a result of being unable to sell their produce. Although the time has come for farmers to reap potato harvests in Nuwara and Badulla, farmers say they have not been able to sell their produce at a good rate. Vegetable farmers of Nuwara, Badulla, Bandarawala, Uvaparnagama and Velimada had resorted to cultivate potatoes this season, hoping to sell their produce at a good price. However, farmers of Nuwara are forced to sell their produce at 90 rupees a kilo and farmers of Velimada at 70 rupees after the prices of imported potatoes had been reduced.
It costs us 45,000 rupees to cultivate potatoes. We spend about 130 to 120 rupees to cultivate a kilo of potatoes. However, a kilo of potatoes is being sold at 90 rupees in Nuwara. What curse has befallen these people? We regretfully note that potatoes are priced at 80 rupees. We spent about 700,000 rupees or 750,000 rupees to cultivate potatoes. If I reap my harvest at the existing rate, I will earn only 600,000 rupees. When potatoes were priced at 200 rupees or 250 rupees, they didn't reduce the taxes. They reduced the tax in January when the price was 120 rupees. Now it is time for farmers in Nuwara to reap the harvest. If they don't increase the price, then the farmers will be forced to consume poison. We regretfully state to the government that we cannot bear to stand this as it is being done by a government that was appointed by us.
අල හොන්ඩරයකට අපි ගත්තේ 18500 ගානේ මිනිස්සු පිරිමි කෙනෙක් විතරක්.
It requires about 5 males to cultivate potatoes on our field. Due to the application of organic fertilizer and pesticides, the cost of cultivation increased up to 75,000 rupees or 80,000 rupees. We are unable to generate an income under the existing rates.
වියදමවත් ගණ්ඩ බැරි තත්ත්වයක් තමයි මේ මිල නිසා තියෙන්නේ.
News First, the voice of the people.
Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, made a special statement on social media regarding the Colombo Port City Economic Commission bill today.
අපි ජාත්‍යන්තර කනුසල්ලි විනිවිද භාවයක් නැති
Sri Lanka was named in the blacklist in 2011. In 2015, we came into power. We were removed from that list and we were listed in the grey list. It was after that they considered the proposals we put forward in 2018 and removed us from all these lists. Now Sri Lanka cannot be included in any of these lists. We cannot lose our GSP again. According to the Port City Economic Commission bill, casinos have been included among offshore service centres and financial centres. Not even in countries like Dubai, Singapore, Mauritius, Hong Kong or Tokyo are allowed to establish casinos like that by their central banks. Instead of giving the complete control to the central bank, they have given a portion to this commission. What are they going to do? This is the important question. Why are they trying to establish the casinos? If they're trying to set up a centre in 24 hours, they can establish casinos online and bring money. There are 4 casino licenses given to Sri Lanka. They can use 2 of them and bring the casino business here. We are not in need of new laws. Why is this beyond the purview of the parliament? Why isn't the parliament given the power to pass these laws? No one can slip away from these. Please do not destroy the future of our young generation by these ridiculous acts. We are already in dire straits. Meanwhile, members of the Jatika Janabalawega expressed their views on the Port City project. They say that a land area comprising of 446 hectares can be considered as a separate state. How can they create a country using a small land area given that they have failed to build a proper country using our land mass and our own resources? Therefore, the government is trying to mislead the people by spreading false statements to conceal their mistakes. Views were also expressed on the ship containing radioactive material that docked at the Hambantota port recently. A ship carrying radioactive material used in preparing China's nuclear weapons had docked at the Hambantota port and left afterwards. An investigation was not carried out into that. If radioactive material is being brought to our country, then we must be kept informed about that. But the country was not informed about that. The government did not take any action either. China has already shown us that they are acting without giving any consideration to the country's law. They have proven that they can bring radioactive material that is used in nuclear weapons. The government does not question that as well. The government has proven that they are subservient to them. The visit of the Chinese defense minister is a part of this.
While the Good Governance government and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna government blame each other for handing over the Hambantota port to China, the country was exposed to the risk of radioactive material at the Hambantota port, which Sri Lanka lost despite its importance as an economic hub. The Chinese administration at the Hambantota port took steps to turn away a ship carrying uranium, a radioactive material, after the media began to report on the matter. According to Indian media reports, even the Sri Lanka Navy was not allowed to board this ship carrying uranium that docked at the Hambantota port. What action was taken against the Chinese administration of the Hambantota port that exposed the southern province and the entire country to this risk? In the end, Does this not result in future generations of Sri Lanka losing access to strategic economic hubs due to political failures? Didn't the arrival of this vessel carrying uranium put the lives of every Sri Lankan at risk?
The committee that probed the island-wide power failure on the 17th of August last year has pinned the blame on the Ceylon Electricity Board in its report released recently.
A committee had been appointed to investigate the countrywide power failure that occurred on the 17th of August last year. In its conclusions, the committee noted that the island-wide power failure had been triggered by maintenance work that had been carried out without being supervised at the Keravalapitia grid substation. It added that the electrical superintendent had performed the routine maintenance for 5 years with his team, without senior oversight. The interruption had taken the Yugadanavi power plant out of the power system initially and had tripped the Lakvijay power station, thereby triggering an island-wide power outage. The report observed that the Ceylon Electricity Board had failed to avoid a countrywide blackout and had taken a longer duration to restore power in the Colombo city in particular. It added that this indicates significant lapses in implementing critical measures outlined in previous expert committee reports. According to the report, the CEB had shown slow progress in ensuring that an auxiliary power supplying mechanism was available at the Lakvijay power plant in Norochole. This is despite a recommendation made to this effect in a report prepared by the committee that investigated the power failure in February 2017. The report, citing CCTV records, pointed out that 2 engineers were on duty at the time of the fault at the CEB Systems Control Center and that they were using laptops and browsing the internet. The report read, quote-unquote, "One engineer seemed to be accessing Facebook." According to the report, 7 attempts had been taken to restore power, out of which the final one had been successful. In the case of the other 6, generators at some hydropower stations had kept tripping.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us.